Greetings, future food safety officers. Bill Nye here. Welcome to a fascinating journey into the very building blocks of life. You're on a path to becoming a guardian of public health, a noble and incredibly important role. Your job will be to ensure that the food on our tables is safe, wholesome, and free from harm. To do that, you need to understand not just the rules and regulations, but the science behind them. It's one thing to know that you shouldn't leave chicken on the counter, but it's another, more powerful thing to understand why, to know about the tiny, invisible world of microorganisms that can turn a delicious meal into a dangerous one. Today, we're going to dive deep into the basics of biology. We'll explore cells, tissues, and organs. Now you might be thinking, Bill, what does a biology lesson have to do with inspecting a restaurant kitchen? And the answer is, everything! Understanding how living things are structured, from the smallest bacterium to the complex systems within the human body, is fundamental to understanding food safety. This knowledge will empower you to make informed decisions, to identify risks, and to protect your community effectively. It's the science that makes the safety rules make sense. Think of it like being a detective. A good detective doesn't just look at the crime scene, they understand the motives, the methods, and the science behind the evidence. For you, the crime scene might be a contaminated batch of spinach, and the culprits are often microscopic bacteria. By learning about cells, you'll understand your adversary. By learning about human tissues and organs, especially the digestive system, you'll understand how these tiny invaders can cause such big problems for people. This foundational knowledge will be your superpower in the field. So get ready to put on your science goggles. We're going to break down these complex topics into simple, digestible pieces. Our goal is to build your confidence and give you the scientific foundation you need to not just pass your exam, but to excel in your career as a food safety officer. We'll connect every concept back to the real world of food safety, showing you the practical importance of this amazing science. Let's get started on this incredible adventure together. The world of science is all around us, and it's about to make you a better protector of public health. Let's go! Everything that is alive is made of cells. Think of them as tiny Lego bricks. You can use them to build something simple, like a single-celled bacterium, or something incredibly complex like a human being or a giant redwood tree. But not all cells are the same. The first major way we categorize them is by splitting them into two big groups, prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. It's a fancy-sounding distinction, but the main difference is pretty straightforward. It all comes down to organization and a special little compartment called the nucleus. Consider it the cell's main office. Prokaryotic cells are the simple, no-frills models of the cellular world. Their name gives us a clue. Pro means before, and karyon means nucleus. So these are cells that existed before the nucleus evolved. They are small, simple, and they don't have a nucleus. Their genetic material, their DNA, just floats around inside the cell in a region we call the nucleoid. Bacteria and another group called archaea are the most famous prokaryotes. They are the oldest forms of life on Earth, and they are masters of survival, found everywhere from volcanic vents to the inside of your own gut. On the other hand, we have eukaryotic cells. EU means true, so these cells have a true nucleus. This is a huge upgrade. The nucleus is a membrane-bound organelle that acts like a secure vault for the cell's DNA. It keeps the genetic blueprint safe and sound. Eukaryotic cells are also much larger and more complex than their prokaryotic cousins. They are filled with all sorts of other membrane-bound compartments called organelles, each with a specific job. Think of them as different departments in a factory, all working together. Animals, plants, fungi, and protists are all made of eukaryotic cells. So, what's the big takeaway here? Simplicity versus complexity. Prokaryotes are like a one-room studio apartment where everything is out in the open. They are efficient and can reproduce very, very quickly. Eukaryotes are like a giant mansion with many different rooms, each with a specific purpose. A kitchen for energy production, a library for storing information, and so on. This organization allows them to build much larger and more specialized organisms, like us. Understanding this fundamental difference is the first step to understanding the key players in the world of food safety. Now that we know the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, let's connect it directly to your future job. Why does a food safety officer need to care about this? Because the biggest troublemakers in food safety are prokaryotes, specifically bacteria. Pathogenic bacteria like Salmonella, E. coli, and Listeria are all single-celled prokaryotic organisms. Their simple structure allows them to multiply at astonishing speeds. One single bacterium can become millions in just a few hours under the right conditions: warmth, moisture, and food. This is what we call the danger zone in food temperature control. The simplicity of prokaryotic cells is their superpower. Without a complex nucleus or other organelles to manage, they can dedicate all their energy to one thing, making more of themselves. This rapid reproduction is why a small contamination can quickly become a major public health crisis. When you enforce rules about proper food storage temperatures, you are directly fighting the biology of prokaryotic cells. Chilling food slows down their reproductive cycle, while cooking food at high enough temperatures destroys them altogether. You are essentially manipulating their environment to stop them in their tracks. But it's not just about the bad guys. We also use prokaryotes and eukaryotes for good in the food industry. Consider yogurt, cheese, and sourdough bread. These are all made using beneficial microorganisms. The bacteria in yogurt, Lactobacillus, a prokaryote, and the yeast in bread, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, a single-celled fungus which is a eukaryote, are our tiny culinary partners. They transform basic ingredients into delicious and complex foods. As a food safety officer, you'll need to distinguish between these helpful microbes and the harmful pathogens, ensuring that production processes encourage the good ones while eliminating the bad. Finally, understanding eukaryotic cells is crucial, because that's what we are made of. The people you are protecting are complex eukaryotic organisms. When harmful bacteria produce toxins, those toxins attack our eukaryotic cells, disrupting their functions and causing the symptoms of foodborne illness. Furthermore, some foodborne parasites like Giardia or tapeworms are also eukaryotes. They are more complex than bacteria and can cause different types of illnesses. So, your knowledge of cells helps you understand the pathogen, the prokaryote, the person, the eukaryote, and even the food itself, which can be plant or animal eukaryotes. It's the whole picture. Alright, we've covered the single cell, but in complex organisms like animals and the humans who eat them, cells don't usually work alone. They team up to form tissues. A tissue is simply a group of similar cells that work together to perform a specific function. Think of it like a construction crew. You have a team of bricklayers, a team of electricians, and a team of plumbers. Each team has a specialized job, but they all work together to build the house. In animals, there are 4 main types of tissues, and each one has a vital role to play in the body. The first type is epithelial tissue. This tissue is all about covering and lining. It forms the outer layer of our skin, which is our body's first line of defense against the outside world, including pesky bacteria. It also lines the inside of our organs and cavities, like the digestive tract, the respiratory tract, and blood vessels. Epithelial tissue acts as a protective barrier, controlling what gets in and out. It's like the security guard of the body, checking IDs at the door. Some epithelial cells are also specialized to secrete substances like mucus or enzymes. The second type is connective tissue. As its name suggests, this tissue connects, supports, and binds other tissues together. It's the most abundant and varied type of tissue in the body. Connective tissue includes everything from bone, which provides the body's framework, to cartilage, which cushions our joints, to fat, or adipose tissue, which stores energy and provides insulation. Even blood is considered a type of connective tissue because it connects different parts of the body by transporting oxygen, nutrients, and waste products. It's the scaffolding, the glue, and the delivery service all in one. The third type is muscle tissue. This tissue is all about movement. Muscle cells or fibers have the unique ability to contract or shorten. This contraction is what produces motion. There are 3 kinds of muscle tissue: skeletal muscle, which is the muscle attached to our bones that we control voluntarily to walk, lift, and chew. Smooth muscle, which is found in the walls of internal organs like the stomach and intestines, and works involuntarily to move food along. And cardiac muscle, which is found only in the heart and is responsible for pumping blood. Let's zoom in on epithelial and connective tissues and see how they relate to food safety. Epithelial tissue is your body's front line. The skin, our largest organ, is covered in a layer of epithelial tissue that provides a formidable barrier against pathogens. When you inspect a food handler's hands, you're looking for cuts or sores. Why? Because a break in this epithelial barrier can allow harmful bacteria from their hands to get into the food they are preparing. It's a direct gateway for contamination. Proper hand washing and wearing gloves are procedures designed to maintain the integrity of this protective layer. Inside the body, the epithelial lining of our digestive tract is just as important. When we eat food, it travels through our esophagus, stomach, and intestines, all of which are lined with epithelial cells. This lining has two jobs: to absorb the nutrients we need from our food, and to keep harmful bacteria and toxins from entering our bloodstream. When certain pathogens, like E. coli O157H7 are ingested, they can damage this delicate epithelial lining. This damage causes symptoms like bloody diarrhea, and allows the bacteria or their toxins to pass into the body, leading to much more severe systemic illness. Connective tissue also plays a critical, though less direct, role. Think about the meat we eat. Meat is primarily muscle tissue, but it's held together and supported by connective tissue like tendons and fascia. The amount and type of connective tissue determine the toughness of a cut of meat. Tougher cuts with lots of connective tissue, like brisket or shank, require slow, moist cooking methods to break down the collagen in the connective tissue into gelatin, making it tender. This is a food quality issue, but it's rooted in the biology of connective tissue. Furthermore, blood, a fluid connective tissue, is the highway for both nutrients and pathogens. Once a pathogen breaches the epithelial barrier of the gut, it can enter the bloodstream. From there, it can travel throughout the body, causing a systemic infection known as sepsis, which can be life-threatening. The immune cells that fight off these infections, such as white blood cells, are also transported via the blood. So, connective tissue is both the potential route for an infection to spread and the delivery system for the body's emergency response team. Now let's turn our attention to muscle and nervous tissue. Muscle tissue is what we commonly refer to as meat in the context of food. When you inspect a piece of steak, chicken, or fish, you are primarily looking at skeletal muscle tissue. The quality, color, and texture of this muscle are key indicators of freshness and safety. For example, spoilage bacteria can begin to break down the muscle proteins, leading to off odors, a slimy texture, and discoloration. Your sensory evaluation skills, smell, sight, and touch, are tools for detecting the degradation of this specific tissue type. The way muscle tissue functions in a living animal also has implications after slaughter. After an animal dies, its muscles go through a process called rigor mortis. This is when the muscle fibers contract and become stiff, because the energy source needed to relax them is no longer available. The proper handling of a carcass during and after rigor mortis is crucial for meat tenderness. If meat is chilled too quickly or processed at the wrong time, it can lead to problems like cold shortening or thaw rigor, resulting in permanently tough meat. This is a clear example of how cellular biology directly impacts food product quality. Nervous tissue is the body's command and control center. It's made up of nerve cells, or neurons, which transmit electrical signals throughout the body. The brain, spinal cord, and nerves are all composed of nervous tissue. While we don't typically eat large amounts of nervous tissue, it plays a critical role in some food safety crises. The most famous example is bovine spongiform encephalopathy, or mad cow disease. This disease is caused by infectious proteins called prions, which destroy nervous tissue in cattle, creating sponge-like holes in the brain. The concern with BSE is that it can be transmitted to humans who eat contaminated nervous tissue, causing a fatal human equivalent of the disease. This led to strict regulations worldwide prohibiting the use of high-risk materials such as the brain and spinal cord from cattle, in the human food supply, and in animal feed. As a food safety officer, understanding that prions concentrate in nervous tissue is the scientific basis for enforcing these critical public health rules. It highlights how a problem in one specific tissue type can have devastating consequences. So, we've gone from cells to tissues. What's next on our organizational ladder? Organs. An organ is a structure made up of two or more different types of tissues that work together to perform a complex function. If a cell is a single worker and a tissue is a team of specialized workers, then an organ is an entire department, like the manufacturing department or the shipping department. Each department has multiple teams working in coordination to achieve a bigger goal. The heart, lungs, stomach, liver, and skin are all examples of organs. Let's take the stomach as our example. It's not just a bag of one type of tissue. The stomach wall is composed of all four tissue types, all working in concert. The inner lining is made of epithelial tissue that secretes digestive juices and protective mucus. Beneath that is a layer of connective tissue that contains blood vessels and nerves. Wrapped around that are powerful layers of smooth muscle tissue which contract to churn and mix the food. The entire organ is regulated by nervous tissue, which sends signals to tell the muscles when to contract and the glands when to secrete. This concept of organs working together leads us to the highest level of organization, the organ system. An organ system is a group of organs that cooperate to perform major functions in the body. For instance, the cardiovascular system includes the heart, an organ, blood vessels, which are also organs technically, and blood, which is a tissue, all working together to circulate blood throughout the body. The respiratory system includes the lungs, trachea, and diaphragm, all working to get oxygen into the body and carbon dioxide out. Each system has a broad responsibility for keeping the organism alive and healthy. For a food safety officer, this is where the story of a foodborne illness really unfolds. A pathogen doesn't just infect a single cell or tissue, it disrupts an entire organ system. The most relevant system for us, of course, is the digestive system. This system is a coordinated assembly line designed to break down food, absorb nutrients, and eliminate waste. It includes a whole series of organs: the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, liver, and pancreas. When you understand how this system is supposed to work, you can better understand how pathogens throw a wrench in the works. The digestive system is the primary battleground for food safety. It is the port of entry for most foodborne pathogens. Let's trace the journey of a contaminated meal to see how understanding this organ system is vital. The process begins in the mouth, where chewing, using skeletal muscle, and saliva from epithelial glands start breaking down food. From there, it travels down the esophagus, a muscular tube, into the stomach. The stomach is a highly acidic environment with a pH of around 1.5 to 3.5. This acid is a powerful first line of defense, killing many of the bacteria we ingest. However, some hardy pathogens are resistant to stomach acid. They can survive the journey and pass into the small intestine. The small intestine is where most of our nutrient absorption happens. It's also where many pathogens decide to set up camp. Bacteria like Salmonella and Campylobacter can attach to the epithelial lining of the intestine. Here, they multiply and can cause inflammation, leading to the common symptoms of food poisoning, abdominal cramps, diarrhea, and vomiting. These symptoms are actually the body's attempt to expel the invaders from the digestive system as quickly as possible. Some bacteria don't just cause inflammation, they produce potent toxins. For example, certain strains of E. coli produce a Shiga toxin that damages the cells lining the intestine and can even enter the bloodstream. Once in the blood, the toxin can travel to the kidneys, causing a severe and sometimes fatal condition called hemolytic uremic syndrome, or HUS. Other bacteria like Staphylococcus aureus don't even need to be alive to make you sick. They can produce heat-stable toxins directly in the food. In this case, even if you cook the food and kill the bacteria, the preformed toxin remains and can cause rapid-onset vomiting. Understanding this progression is critical for a food safety officer during an outbreak investigation. By looking at the symptoms and the incubation period, the time between eating the food and getting sick, you can make educated guesses about the likely culprit. Rapid-onset vomiting might point to a Staphylococcus toxin. Watery diarrhea after a day or two could be Clostridium perfringens. Bloody diarrhea after several days might suggest E. coli O157H7. Your knowledge of how different pathogens attack the digestive organ system turns you from a simple inspector into a scientific investigator, helping you to pinpoint the source of an outbreak and prevent others from getting sick. We've covered a lot of ground, from the tiniest cells to complex organ systems. To help you prepare for your exam, let's boil it all down to the most essential points. Think of this as your cheat sheet for the biology of food safety. Mastering these concepts will give you a solid scientific foundation for your career. Remember, science is the why behind the rules you'll be enforcing. Let's review the top 10 takeaways and then tackle some practice questions to test your knowledge. 1. All life is made of cells. The two main types are simple prokaryotic cells like bacteria and complex eukaryotic cells like animals and plants. 2. Foodborne pathogens like Salmonella and E. coli are prokaryotes. Their simple structure allows them to reproduce very quickly in the danger zone. 3. Eukaryotic cells make up humans. Understanding them helps us know how pathogens make people sick. 4. Tissues are groups of similar cells working together. The 4 animal types are epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous tissue. 5. Epithelial tissue is a protective barrier, skin and gut lining. A break in this barrier can lead to contamination or infection. 6. Muscle tissue is the meat we eat. Its biological properties affect food quality, like toughness and spoilage. 7. Nervous tissue is the target for certain diseases like BSE, or mad cow disease, which is why high-risk nervous tissues are removed from the food supply. 8. Organs, like the stomach, are made of multiple tissues working together. Organ systems, like the digestive system, are groups of organs with a major function. 9. The digestive system is the primary site of foodborne illness. Its acidic stomach is a key defense, but some pathogens can survive it. 10. The symptoms of foodborne illness, vomiting and diarrhea, are often caused by pathogens damaging the epithelial lining of the intestines. Now let's move into some exam prep quanda. First, what is the main difference between a prokaryotic cell and a eukaryotic cell? A eukaryotic cell has a true nucleus to store its DNA, while a prokaryotic cell does not. Its DNA floats in the cytoplasm. Second, why is understanding prokaryotic cells important for food safety? Because most common foodborne pathogens like bacteria are prokaryotes. Their ability to multiply rapidly is the reason for strict temperature controls in food handling. Third, name the 4 basic types of animal tissue: epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous tissue. Fourth, which tissue type forms the lining of the digestive tract and acts as a barrier against pathogens? Epithelial tissue. Fifth, what is an organ? Give an example. An organ is a structure made of 2 or more tissue types that work together for a specific function. Examples include the stomach, liver, heart, or skin. Sixth, the meat from a cow is primarily which type of tissue? Muscle tissue. Seventh, why is the digestive system so important in the study of foodborne illness? It is the main entry point for pathogens into the body, and where the symptoms of illness usually begin. Eighth, what is one of the body's first chemical defenses against ingested bacteria in the stomach? The highly acidic environment, stomach acid. Ninth, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, or BSE, primarily affects which type of tissue? Nervous tissue, the brain and spinal cord. 10th, what is an organ system? A group of organs that work together to perform a major function in the body, such as the digestive system or the cardiovascular system.